JTAC sees him and is now sure that the aircraft is going the right way. Dragon 3-1 cleared hard. Dragon 3-1 off, 2 away. That means Dragon 3-1 has dropped his 2 bombs and he's turning back to the east. And then in this case we're actually 2 aircraft, so bombs are dropped and they hit. And the JTAC calls Dragon 3-2 from leads hit west 100. So from where the bombs hit, go west 100 meters, and then you're gonna hit the target. Dragon 3-2 in from southeast. Dragon 3-2 cleared hard. And Dragon 3-2 off 2 away. And so on. So that's how I do control. And the reason we do control is so that we at any time can call off. Can call off this attack if the situation changes and we have increased risk of friendly fire. Any questions on Type 1 controls? Okay, we still have the badass here.
Yeah, one line. The contact the mark is actually when the pilot sees the mark?
Yeah. And he will only say that once he sees the mark and he's certain that he's seeing the right mark.
Okay.
Okay, so when JTAC says from leads hit west 100, so Dragon 3-2 is going in for another run then?
In this case, he's called in both the aircraft in this flight for this attack. So Dragon 3-1 hits a point, and then he says, "Okay, Dragon 3-2, you see what those rounds hit? Yeah, just go west 100 meters, then you're gonna hit the rest of the enemies."
Didn't notice. Okay.
That's good. Ask questions if you're in doubt. Any other questions on Type 1 control? This is the safest way to call in fire, but it's also what consumes most of the JTAC's time, because he really has to see, be able to see the target and the aircraft, and he can't really do much else than look out for that aircraft. No questions? Okay, we're on to Type 2. Type 2 is when the JTAC is unable to visually acquire the attacking aircraft at weapons release, or is unable to visually acquire the target. It can actually be both too. And it can also be used if the attacking aircraft is unable to acquire the mark or target prior to weapons release. So the aircraft might not even see the target, it's just firing at a grid it's been told to hit. But the technical procedure is the same as Type 1. It can typically be done when the JTAC doesn't see a target, but for instance, a scout team on the left side, like Stalker 6, says that they have eyes in the T-80 at grid and elevation. Then you as a JTAC is in charge of sending a CAS briefing to the pilot on and getting the pilot to hit that grid and that tank there. It could also be your platoon or company commander or scout or troop in contact, anything that's requesting a close escort. That's usually when you'd use a Type 2 control. So yeah, the 9 line is exactly the same in this case. The difference is in the control after you've given your CAS briefing. And then you see it would be easily be yeah, it'd be smaller control you're required to do. In this case, the attacking aircraft still reach back its restrictions at 045 November Bravo 8652342745. Final attack heading 300. That's wrong. 300 to 345. The attack repad correct. Report IP inbound. Time on target 45 or 45. Roger 45. And then in this case, he has asked for a report from IP inbound. So you still report in Hawk 1-1 IP inbound, Hawk 1-1 continue, Hawk 1 in from the south, Hawk 1 cleared hard, hits the target and goes off to his east to Chevy. And this is done without JTAC seeing either the target or the aircraft. Are there any questions on type 2?
So
Okay.
basically, yeah, observer in the front is watching something, then he just gives the grid, the elevation, and what it is to the JTAC, and the JTAC just tells the pilot what to do.
Yeah, then the JTAC gives his cast briefing as a 9-line with remarks and everything. Sometimes you would also do what's called a talk on. We're gonna get into that later. But yeah, any other questions for type 2? Okay, moving on to type 3. Type 3, that's also when the JTAC is unable to visually acquire the attacking aircraft at weapons release and is unable to visually acquire the target. The attacking aircraft is unable to. It could also be when the attacking aircraft is unable to acquire the mark or target prior to weapons release. So he again is shooting blindly at the target. The difference between type 2 and type 3 is that you would give a clear to engage call from the JTAC preceding IP inbound, and you'll get a commencing engagement call from the aircraft and an engagement complete call. Type 3 is used if you're engaging an area, as we talked about earlier. So in this case, once the aircraft is inbound from his IP and gets cleared to engage, then he has a set amount of time to actually fly around within his restrictions and engage those targets. And then once that's done, once he's taken out the targets or he's out of ammo, he says engagement complete, and goes back to his control point and waits for further tasking. So again, 9-line is exactly the same. You give them an IP, heading, distance, elevation. In this case, it would just be it could, for instance, be a mechanized company in the open, and then you're just clearing the aircraft HUD on mechanized units in the grid. And you notice in this 9-line he gets a mark in the form of a laser code 1111, and there's friendlies to the south 1100. And you should egress south back to master and advise him ready for remarks. So in this case, the remarks will be a talk on, and that's why in this case you say Racer 11 expect to engage from time 45 to 55. Execute attacks north of the river. No attack run-ins from north to south. Cobra recon team call sign Lone Wolf is currently 1100 meters south in position to laze as required. Contact on this tactical air direction. Report BHA on the stat. So then
that's just military slang for basically stay on this radio channel, and the scout team will come on this radio channel and talk to you.
Yeah, so the attack aircraft just validates this and advises that it knows the elevation, the grid, and execute attack north side of the river, and no north to south run-ins. Time on target 45 to 55. And from that point on, the JTAC just listens into the conversation, but he can't really control anything else. So then Cobra comes on to this radio frequency and gives what's called a talk on. And Cobra calls Racer 11, your target is a mechanized company of BRDMs and BMPs with dismounted infantry located on the north side of the river, 100 meters west of the large brown suspension bridge, with the burning vehicle about mid-span. Call contact that bridge. So they gave a general description of the target area, and then they asked the pilot to say that he can see that target area. And then the attack aircraft calls contact north-south running bridge.
All right, sorry to interrupt. I'm still not understanding the difference between this and 2.
This and 2 is the difference is you're engaging an area with type 3. Type 2, you're engaging an exact location, like this tank or this platoon. In this case, you're giving it could be within a kilometer. You say, okay, in this area there's enemy tanks, and you're to engage them within these restrictions.
Yeah, basically, they know that there is a mechanized company north of this river, and he sends the aircraft an approximate grid of where he thinks they are, and then once he gets there, since they don't know the exact grid, this recon team is describing what the target looks like, and that's why they're doing a talk-on, because the JTAC can't confirm where the target is, and neither can the scouts, but the scouts can see it, so they're visually describing it, and then once that visual confirmation is complete, then the aircraft attacks.
Yes. Okay, any more questions on Type 3 control?
Two questions just about the example there. BHA, is that a misspelling of BDA?
Kraus knows that.
In the first remark section.
Yeah, I see it. I actually don't know what it is either. For me, it's some sort of Air Force lingo.
It's battlehead assessment, and you would never use that in ArmA. These were taken directly out of the JTAC field manual. So basically, he wants all the comms, all that fancy jargon just means he wants all the comms to happen on this channel, and he's going to control it pretty much. So you would just say in ArmA, you just say stay on this channel, and and normally you'd be like, hey, I'm gonna hop freaks for a second. I have to go tell the scouts to get on here, and then I'll be right back or something.
Right.
So the point is just have your comm set up so that it's logical. Like, you don't want to be waiting for the aircraft to do something on another channel while you're on another channel waiting for him to come back to you. Because you want to be able to hear what's going on, because you're in control of the attack, not the scout who's actually lasing it and observing it. He's just basically buddy lasing for you. He's like doing you a favor. But it's still the JTAC is the one who's ultimately in control of the attack.
Can I just put a point across from actual doing it on the ground? Norseman 2-2, we had a open air frequency that wasn't secured, that if we were calling in a Type 2 or Type 3 that the JTAC couldn't see, we basically moved frequencies onto that. He could listen into what we were doing. But the good thing is he could basically do a Type 1 hit on it because of all the lantern pods, so he got the feed from the aircraft real time that what the aircraft was seeing on the ground to him. Thank you. I'll go keep my box now.
Yeah, that's the saddle uplink. It's situational awareness data link, and unfortunately that's not an ArmA, but it's fucking awesome.
But yeah, the difference, you can do a Type 3 just as accurately as Type 1. The difference is just the JTAC won't be able to see exact with his own eyes what's going on. He can see it through the saddle and he can listen in on the radio, but he can't see it physically see the AO with his own eyes. That's the difference. Is there any other questions on Type 2 and 3 and what the difference is? Now comes the exciting part where we actually need to select the control types. I'm doing the right stuff here. Kraus, can you take over for a second? I really need a bio break.
Sorry, say again?
Can you take over for a few seconds?
Sure.
Hey, Kraus, do you have any GTAs for this?
Do I have what?
Any GTAs, graphical training aids?
Yes, I do. Reference to the channel.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so pretty much. So let's just go over. We sort of went to this for a bit, but let's just expand on this. When would you choose a different type of control? So Type 2 and Type 3, they occur when you do not have eyes on the target, but you want to hit it or someone else is observing the target, okay? Type 1 occurs when you spot the target. So when you're in Type 1, you're going to spot the target, and you're going to think to yourself, will I be able to predict its movement, or will it remain stationary long enough for an aircraft that is likely loitering to be effective against it following a briefing? Or is it in a position which allows close air support? For instance, if it's right on top of friendlies, you would not call in a Type 1. You would not call in any cast on it. You would let the battle sort of resolve on its own, even if that means your friendlies have to die. You're not going to call in cast if it's within 10 meters of a friendly position. After you spot the target, you're going to assess the terrain. Then you're going to assess enemy air threats. So, for example, if there's a Shilka to the south, you're going to make note of this in the remarks, okay? And if the aircraft is ingressing east to west, you can set an offset direction to steer it clear of the Shilka's effective max range, okay? And the next thing you're going to do is, in a Type 1, is you're going to... This is basically just like a practical procedure of what you'd be doing in ArmA. So after you assess the enemy air threats in the terrain, you're going to copy the grid elevation of the target. And the easiest way to get this is with a SOFLAM. You can network the SOFLAM or the Vector 2 Knight to a dagger. And then if you laser target, it will give you the exact grid, a 10-digit grid, actually. It'll give you a 10-digit grid, and it'll give you the target elevation. So that's the... get the fuck out of here, dog. Sorry. Being raped by a dog. Anyway, yeah, so you laser target with the Vector or the SOFLAM, and then it gives you the grid and elevation. After you get that, you're going to designate an IP. And normally, the IPs would be done in the briefing screen. But there's also situations where you might have to designate an IP on the fly if your pre-existing IPs do not jive with the situation. And keep in mind, you'd be creating IPs and CPs during the planning phase of the CAS. So after you designate an IP, then you're going to use the map tools. You're going to determine a heading from the IP to the target, and you're going to copy that down. If you have marking equipment, you're going to get it ready. Otherwise, you're going to get artillery on a separate net to mark the target. So if it's a Type 1 and you want to mark the target, you're going to mark it. You know, you're going to use like a fucking SOFLAM or whatever. If you can't do that, then you're going to use Willie Pete, and you would have to be talking with artillery at the same time, or, you know, and you can coordinate the arty to mark the target at the same time as when the aircraft comes in. So next what you're going to do is you're going to consider the ordnance and capabilities of the CAS aircraft against the target. So if your aircraft has like Mark 82s, which are dumb bombs or 500-pound dumb bombs, you're not going to use that against a Tunguska because the aircraft will be shot down. Now, if your aircraft has a standoff weapon like a Maverick, also known as an AGM-65, you can use that to attack a target like a Tunguska, but you need to be aware of the capabilities of the weapon systems. So, following that, you know the ordnance, you know what the ordnance capabilities are. Then you're going to give them the briefing. You're going to send them the briefing, and then after the attack's complete, you're going to do a BDA, and you're going to ask them to either re-attack or you're going to tell them to depart, which basically means fuck off. That's pretty much the process of CAS, and it's essentially the same no matter Type 1, Type 2, or Type 3. The only thing that really changes are individual sort of aspects of it, but the format and the radio reports and all that, it's all in the same basic procedure. And are there any questions about... So we've gone over Type 1 through Type 3, a whole bunch of shit. It can be a little intimidating to new people. If you have any questions about doing a CAS briefing, then please ask now. It could be anything that we've gone over so far.
I just have a question on the Type 2 when someone else calls a fire mission. If this person what calls in, you know that whatever he calls in is going to basically not be effective, or it's on friendly troops, would you say you're not doing that fire mission?
I'm not sure what you mean. So you're saying why would Type 2...
Well, okay. What I'm saying is that say you have someone who wants calling in Caspi knows nothing about, grid or...
Yeah, I know what you mean now. So that's why JTACs exist. I mean, you exist so that when the really hyper-excited guy from, some corporal calls up and says, "Oh fuck, there's a tank over here! Oh my god!" That's why JTACs exist, so that you can control that chaos. So you need to make a determination if it's good intelligence, if it's good information, and then you're going to call in the aircraft, and you're always going to be in control of the aircraft, and you're going to use the procedures that we've gone over to make sure that the aircraft does not kill friendlies, or it does not miss, or whatever, get shot down. So the short answer is, would you do it or would you not do it? It really depends on who's asking for the support and what the... I mean, when in doubt, talk to the commander. Okay, so... And normally you're not going to be getting Joe Blow, the fire team leader. He's not going to be sending you a CAS request. It's probably going to be either the CO or an FO or a scout. You're not going to get Joe Blow, the fire team leader, who is an idiot and might get you killed. He's probably not going to be asking for CAS unless you're really in trouble. And then at that point, anything goes. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Kraus, is there a list of kind of like your air-to-air list for UAF of all the standardized terms that might be used in a 9-line?
Yes, there is. I actually have extensive notes for this course, and they're going to be made available after the course. After this session, at the end of this session, you're going to get a link to extensive list of notes. And the idea here is, just to touch on that, we don't really want to make this into super realistic radio brevity, because there's so many brevity terms and a lot of them do not apply to ArmA. So the basic idea here is we want to be able to do this accurately and quickly and do it according to some standards. But we don't want to use all the brevity terms. I mean, you could, but everyone has to be on the same page. So the idea here is we want to get everyone on the same page. You have a common vocabulary, but not a vocabulary that's so labyrinthine that it's impossible to use or memorize. So there is some of that in the notes, but there isn't a comprehensive guide because we can't really turn this into a flight simulator.
Yeah, copy that.
Any other questions? All right. Godhand, I hand it off to you, sir.
Thanks. Chef. Okay. The slides you see here, that's that could be. We're gonna use that for an example of a talk on. When you do a talk on, that's mostly if you can't really just give the pilot the grid and or you can't just give the pilot the CAS briefing and expect him to know exactly what's going on, or the pilot might even say so. Well, that he's not really sure what he's looking at right now, and then you will have to explain him like our flood of front line of troops is just 200 meters east of a hamlet with 3 MSRs spurring out to the east. Call contact. Okay, so he sees that town now. Town of Alpha. I'm just gonna mark it here if I can. Yeah, so this town that I put a green line on. Now we know he sees that. Then he sees, and then you ask, reference the ASR running east along parallel to the highway. Call contact, and then he sees this and this road here. Okay, so now we know he sees this road. Road ends in a hamlet 3 kilometers east of flood. Call contact. So he sees the town here. That's part of our talk on. So now we know we're looking at the same area. And you can say from outskirts of eastern town, 1 kilometer west along ASI is your target area. So that could be this area here. If you listen to that Generation Kill clip I posted in the thread for this event, you can also hear an example of a talk on later on. Any questions about the talk ons? No? Okay. Next thing is whiteboard procedures, and we're just coming in 10 minutes under our own time limit here, which is great. Okay, 1 sec. Just reviewing my notes here.
Wait, you're not telling me you actually kept within the time limit?
Yeah, we actually made.
God damn it!
Depending on these scenarios, though. No, we're not coming on time limit, David. Also have to go over this for pilots. Kraus, you still want to go ahead with these scenarios?
I think it'd be useful considering you skipped all the quizzes, so there hasn't been any evaluation of these guys' understanding, really. Probably, we should probably do it.
Okay, we're just gonna do this then. What we're gonna do here is make up some scenarios for you, and then we're gonna ask you guys to determine what type of control you want to use and give us a cast briefing, basically, and see how that goes. We realize you won't have map tools and stuff like that, but we'll make up scenarios for you. Fuck, damn pencil.
You just click undo at the top left. It's a little green arrow, like going to the left.
Yeah.
There you go.
So now, reference the middle of the map. There's a little guy standing there in the open field. That's you as a JTAC, and that will be your position on the map, and we'll be telling you showing you what info you get. In this case, you are in the northeast corner of the northwest corner of the map. Kraus, I'm thinking about if you do, can you make a flood along going from north to east in the middle of the AO?
Sure.
Direction from north to south, just west side of Komarov.
Yeah.
What's the image left of a technical? Can't really see that.
I think artillery.
Alright.
Well, technically looking at there's an M1, a Bradley, BRDM, and an artillery piece.
Okay.
Does it matter which one we're calling it on?
Those units at the top don't exist. Just pretend that they don't exist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But just for purposes of making up scenarios. Okay, well, let's try and run with this scenario. Pretend the distances are a bit bigger than they actually are, just to make this AA piece actually being useful.
So pretend the Shilka is in range of isn't in range of targeting those BMGs on the road.
Yeah, you should be able to hit the target with what you have without getting it shot down immediately.
All right.
Okay, so in the scenario, you as JTAC is at grid 031, 027 by the buildings with the company commander, and his front line of troops is the blue line running north to south. They call in a cast request for a platoon of BMPs on the east-west going MSR between Komarov and Balota. What the fuck? And they have reported that there is a Shilka to the northeast at grid 046 030. Who wants to try and make a cast brief for this?
Have we got the beep IPs?
Yeah, just designate one.
You can designate.
I'll give you one who volunteers get some drawing powers.
Who is that? Who wants it?
Darth Medic, I'll do it, mate.
Alright, you can now draw. So if you click, there should be like a menu on the right side. There's a pencil. You can draw shit there. So, or you can also use the text. So just draw where you want to have the IP or other marks.
Reddish, I think it's northing then easting.
Alright.
Yeah, I think Godhand mixed up one of them there, said easting then northing.
Oh fuck, sorry.
Along the corridor and up the stairs.
Yeah, the proper way has always been up to the tree, towards the tree, up the tree. So eastings first, and then northings.
It's far easier, the bottom numbers than the side numbers. There you go.
Well, I think I did that both times.
This is confusing. Why are you doing it not... why?
Trust me. So CP penis will be 040020.
Okay, so bottom numbers, then side numbers, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Eastings, northings, yeah. Or X and then Y.
Give us 2 seconds, I'll just... what's my call sign, guys?
Axeman 1.
Say again?
Axeman 1. And the aircraft there is Enfield 1. So, are you ready to go?
2 seconds, mate, I'm just making it up. I was just drawing pretty little pictures.
I see that.
Was it nice? Do you like them? You do, don't you?
Yeah, so you have 2 A10s, and they have...
Do you want me to play A10 Kraus?
Sure. Yeah, you can go ahead and do a check-in. Go ahead and come on station. We haven't gone over this yet, but...
Yeah, I'll explain it if you want, Kraus, whilst I do the check-in.
Yeah.
Confirm his call sign.
Axeman 1, your call sign's Enfield 1.
Axeman 1, this is Enfield 1, 2 times A10A. We are on station east of your position. We are armed with guns, rockets, 2 times AGM-65, 2 times GBU-12. We have playtime 2 hours. How copy? Over.
Enfield, A1, this is Axeman. A1, be advised, troops in contact, wait out.
Just to go over what I've just done there, that's the reporting section for an aircraft, as this is never done by any aircraft because this has only been taught within the prior JTAC course. When an aircraft of any type, call sign, such as a transport helicopter, well, it changes to that sort of deal, but transport helicopter, attack helicopter, fixed wing transport, fixed wing attack, comes on station in an environment where it knows it's got to be in contact with a ground controller or JTAC, it's going to report into that JTAC. And the way that this is done is as followed. You simply report your call sign to their call sign. You inform them of your aircraft and number. So say in that case I had an A10A and I was in a flight of 2 ships. I then reported my position and where I was holding, which at the time was west. Sorry, I called east when I should have called west of their position, with me formally knowing their position with my package brief. I then called out what my A10 was armed with in basics and trying to keep it as short as possible, where I was only really highlighting the important parts, i.e. the AGM-65s and the GBU-12s, which both have different capabilities on top of each other and different methods for marking. And then I reported my playtime, which is my time to bingo, i.e. the time I can spend on the target before I need to return to base with the minimum amount of fuel needed. Does everyone understand that?
Yeah, and also we're going to be going over all the facets of how to do CAS as a pilot. It's a pretty short section, but if we don't get to it today, we'll get to it in the next session.
I can always help with that as if you need after this session.
Sure. Are you good to go, Death Medic?
Yeah, getting there, buddy.
Alright.
It's just a little bit different than what we do it. It's probably going to be wrong, but I'll give it a go. Enfield 1, this is Axeman L1. Ready to receive, over.
Death Strike.
Axeman 1, this is Enfield 1. Say again, over.
Balls, do you know when you forget to take things down?
You'll want to introduce yourself and tell me if this is a Type 1 or Type 2 line line.
Or Type 3.
Yep.
Or Type 3.
Hello, Enfield 1, this is Axeman 1. This is a Type 1, how copy? Or ready to copy?
Axeman 1, this is Enfield 1, ready to copy, over.
Axeman 1, Enfield 1. A poo, 12 miles, east. APC platoon on road. A 040, a 26. A Whiskey Papa. Eastings, a 034. A Panels. A South. A CP Penis. Over.
What is this panels? What the hell does that mean?
It's how the friendlies are marked.
Oh, okay.
That's for the
BTS panels, yeah, okay. Anyway, Axeman, or correction, Enfield, what do you say back?
Axeman, this is Enfield. I call back 040026 APC platoon marked white phosphorus. Your additionals, friendlies are 034 marked by panel.
I read back, friendlies, Eastings, a 034, are marked with panels. Over.
Axeman Enfield, friendlies 034, Eastings marked by panel, over.
Correct. Over.
Axeman, this is Enfield. Request additionals for weapon, over.
A weapons engaged with a GBUs, over.
Axeman,
Okay.
this is Enfield. Will engage with GBU 12.
Okay, so some issues with that. Number one, when you're given friendly factor, you never give a northing or an easting. You say the range and the bearing. So west, in this case, it would be west 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. West 800 would be the friendly factor line. And you would just say West 800 marked with panels. And another issue is you did not tell him the air threats, and there is a Shilka to the northeast by about 800 meters.
Sorry.
Yep, you basically went over what you should have covered. Basically, you combine the additionals into the standard brief, whereas you should have split off the friendly information, the weapon required, and the air threats into the additionals.
Roger,
Yeah.
roger.
Also, another thing is GBU 12 is a bad choice for this target because you have to in order to use GBU 12, they have to overfly the target, and that would put them in range of the Shilka. If they used an AGM, they would stay outside of the range of the Shilka.
Cool beans.
So, just to go over how this should have sounded, so we're going to learn something from this, is Enfield 1, this is Axeman 1, Type 1 in effect, advised ready for 9-9.